everyone. Today I'm taking my 30-year-old FJ80 Toyota Land Cruiser off-road for the very first time. Hello guys, it is indeed desert season here in Southern California. It's finally only like 75 degrees in the afternoon instead of like 120, which is how hot it can get in the summer. So I decided to take my 80 series Land Cruiser out off-roading for the first time since I've owned it, and actually for the vehicle's first time ever too, since the previous owner said he never took it off-road in the 29 years it's been around. And just from looking at the frame condition and overall paint, I can tell you that my 2019 Tacoma actually has more scratches on its undercarriage and more pinstripes than this thing does, so I don't think the previous owner was lying. With how popular these 80 series Land Cruisers have been lately, I wanted to test mine out pretty much in its factory form to see if it could really perform up to the hype, so we came to Joshua Tree and hit up a few trails and a canyon for a full day of off-roading. Also, this is a new rig I'll be building up on the channel, so I wanted to see how it was before I did any mods. So if you guys want to follow the build along, be sure to subscribe to the channel. First impression so far from just starting out on the trail, this thing feels like, or it makes me feel like I'm in a safari. Definitely feels like driving a Toyota. So this Land Cruiser is a 1992, so it's 29 years old. It's an FJ80, and these 80 series Land Cruisers are full-time four-wheel drive. From the factory, a lot of these 80 series Land Cruisers come triple lock, so they've got a front locker, a rear locker, and a center locking diff. This one is not triple locked. It's only got a center diff lock, but that will definitely help with traction still. And something else that's cool about these older Land Cruisers is that they have a solid front axle, so there's not independent front suspension, which obviously is going to make this a lot better for rock crawling. So far, the visibility in this thing is really, really awesome. It feels like there's a lot more glass, there's a lot fewer blind spots, which is really nice and obviously great for off-roading. And also the hood is not huge. The newer Toyotas really do have gigantic hoods, and this one slants down, which makes visibility a lot more clear and cornering a lot better. Oh wait, something I haven't ever done before, so I have no idea how this horn sounds, so I'm curious. Oh, that's funny. This thing has shaky mirror syndrome. One of the specific trails I wanted to take the Land Cruiser on was Pinkham Canyon Trail, which is on the south side of Joshua Tree National Park, and it's adjacent to the 10 freeway. But to get there from the park, there was a trail I had to take for about 30 to 45 minutes, where there was nothing too bad to worry about except for some soft sand, which I try to keep my momentum up for. There were some ruts, and there was also a section that I hit my tow hitch one time. But other than that, it was beautiful out, and the Land Cruiser in its stock form just feels like driving a small truck. Given the short wheelbase, it's really easy to maneuver and handles well along these narrow stretches of the trail. So I just hit the beginning of Pinkham Canyon, and it took about 12 miles on that little section from the south side of Joshua Tree Park to actually get to the beginning of the canyon. I can't remember if I said it before, but this truck has 198,000 miles on it plus. So far so good. As you can see, we don't have any overheating. The lucky thing is it's not too hot today. It is sort of fall winter time, so it feels like it's 75 outside, which is really, really nice. This thing does drink a lot of fuel, and I was cognizant about that. It is a 25-gallon tank, I believe, but I did fill up right before we hit the park just in case. That first 12 miles coming out of the park was not that bad. It was actually really fun to do. There were some tight spots and a lot of rocks and definitely a lot of soft sand. So this thing took it awesome. The only thing I was worried about, and I'm a little bit more worried about now that we're actually in the canyon, is that this Land Cruiser is pretty much stock. So the tires I have on it, I believe, are 265/70 R15, which aren't that big, and they're also not all-terrain tires, they're not mud terrain tires, they're all-season tires. So not the most ideal for sand and not the most ideal for rock crawling or going into holes and stuff, but this trail on all trails is rated as moderate, so I hope we'll be okay with those size tires. The other thing is that this Land Cruiser is at stock height, or maybe even slightly lower, because the coils haven't been replaced ever or in a really long time, and same thing with the shocks. So ground clearance is something that I have been cognizant of as well. The thing I really think is amazing about this Land Cruiser is the fact that it's about to finish its 3rd decade of life and start its 4th, and yet it really still does drive like a new Toyota. This Land Cruiser is 6 years older than me, and who would have thought fate would bring me and it together in 2021, but I'm glad it did. Anyways, I'll admit that it's got its cosmetic flaws and the user experience isn't as modern as it is today, but drivability wise, I'm impressed considering its age and its mileage. I really like the no frills, full practicality and reliability culture of Toyota, and this 80 series Land Cruiser really embraces that, which is one of the reasons I bought it and a reason I bought my own 2019 Tacoma. Land Cruisers specifically aren't the fastest and most powerful trucks out there, but they've built a huge name for themselves because of their reliability and the fact that they basically never die, with proper maintenance of course. So everything was smooth sailing in the canyon until we hit this section. Now, I know it doesn't look too bad on camera, but I've got no armor on this rig, a bad approach and departure angle because there's no lift, and what I was most afraid of was these small street tires. As you saw in the beginning of the video, I aired down to about 20 psi, but one sharp rock and you can easily puncture a tire and have a not so fun day. So we just did this section over here, and every time, it never looks that difficult on camera, but just because of the ground clearance, or the lack of ground clearance, this section was a little bit difficult. I decided to take this line over here, put my passenger tire on this rock, as you can probably tell a lot of people have done, because I think that was the easiest line, and then sort of straddle this big rock. It wasn't too bad, but this thing could definitely use some increased ground clearance. Alright, I hit the end of the trail. Now there's just a dirt road back to the 10, but the 10 is just very close over there. So from start to finish, I started in the park, like I said before. It was 20 miles of off-road, and this Land Cruiser did awesome. I mean, nothing overheated, which was good. It wasn't a super hot day, but we are out in the desert and it is 75 to 80 degrees. This being a 30-year-old vehicle, the whole front dash and even like the shifter and everything was shaking a ton, and especially the mirror was too, which was a little annoying. I do have to fix this, but yeah, everything was shaking on these washboard roads. But other than that, the driving felt great. Let's check out our damage on the outside. Got a couple of new pinstripes. On that one section, I was against this running board, but the whole weight of the vehicle wasn't on it, so this is fine. Pretty dirty back here. I think I did hit my hitch a couple of times because this departure angle, if you can kind of see, is not very high because the truck isn't really lifted. Overall, I'd say that this was the perfect trail to really test my Land Cruiser on. It wasn't an easy trail by any means, but you definitely did need four-wheel drive and a slightly lifted vehicle or a vehicle with slightly higher ground clearance. The only real challenging part was that little rock section in the canyon. That got me a little bit nervous just because I don't know this vehicle that well. It's my first time taking it off-road. It's also new to me, so I'm trying to be a little bit careful with it, even though it's pretty much going to be a trail rig. And I'm used to off-roading with my Tacoma, which has bigger tires, better tires, and much higher ground clearance. The one thing that makes life a lot easier is the shorter wheelbase. The turning radius is a lot better and you're just in a smaller vehicle, which makes it easier. I don't know if it's just because I mentally knew I was in a Land Cruiser, and these Land Cruisers, as many of you know, have so much history, but I just had a blast taking this truck off-road. It really felt like I was in a safari and I was just having a lot of fun getting in the zone. For being 30 years old and with 200,000 miles on it, I am so impressed with how this Land Cruiser did. We didn't have one hiccup, and yes, while it's old and you can definitely feel it, it still is a ton of fun. I think based on how today went, I'm super excited to get larger tires and a lift on this thing. I did have a spotter for that rock section, but it would have been so easy even if I just had 33s and a little bit of a lift. But that's all in the works, and if you guys want to stay updated to see how this truck is doing in the future, definitely subscribe to follow along. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate your support as always. Let me know if you want to see more Land Cruiser videos or Land Cruiser off-road videos. I have some fun videos planned, but I'd love to hear your suggestions. If you guys want more content from me, you can follow me on my Instagram at ChloeKuoTaco. I post more in real time on there, and I was posting on my Instagram as I was doing this trail. Anyways, thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.